He was so tired, so incredibly tired. The sun, a fiery ball in the vast desert sky, had burned his skin until it felt tight and sore, a constant, painful reminder of its power. His whole body hurt, a deep ache in his muscles and joints with every single step he took. And more than anything, he really, really needed water. His throat was parched, his lips felt dry and cracked. His legs felt like they were made of lead, heavy and unwilling. But he kept going, just pushing himself forward, one determined step after another. He told himself, just a little further, just keep moving. Then all of a sudden, when he felt like he could barely take another step, she was there again, as if appearing by magic, a little dog. She looked so tiny, almost impossibly small, in the huge empty desert that stretched out in every direction. The vastness of the landscape made her seem like a tiny, brave speck. Her fur, a light tan color, was covered in fine desert dust, and it was clear she was all alone. There was no one else with her, no other animal, no person in sight, just this little creature in the middle of nowhere. She ran right up to him, her little legs moving surprisingly fast, and nipped playfully but persistently at his running shoes. She let out a series of sharp, high-pitched barks, almost like she was trying with all her might to make him stop walking. Or maybe she was trying to warn him about something hidden in the sands. He couldn't be sure what she wanted, but she was definitely trying to get his attention. Other runners, also pushing through the difficult race, looked back over their shoulders. Their faces showed they were confused. Some even slowed down for a moment, puzzled. Why was this small stray dog, clearly without an owner, trying so hard to stay with this one particular man? She had no leash around her neck, no collar with a name. There was no sign of anyone who might be her owner. And, most worryingly, there was no water anywhere nearby for her to drink. It was a harsh place for any creature, let alone a small dog. But she simply wouldn't leave him. For mile after grueling mile, through the sand and over the rocks, she stayed right by his side, a tiny, determined shadow. Some people who saw them thought she was just lost, a poor creature separated from her family and hoping for help. Others guessed she just wanted food, hoping this runner might share some of his supplies. But the real reason she followed him so faithfully? That was something no one, not even the runner himself at first, could have possibly guessed. This man's name was Dion Leonard. He came all the way from Scotland, a country far away, and he was a very, very good ultramarathon runner. That means he didn't just run short races, he ran super long races, races that went on for many, many miles, pushing his body and his mind very, very hard, beyond what most people think is possible. In 2016, Dion decided he wanted a new challenge, so he chose to run one of the hardest, most demanding races in the entire world, the Four Deserts Gobi March, held in the vast, remote Gobi Desert in China. This race was known for being incredibly tough. It was an astonishing 155 miles long, a distance that's hard to even imagine running. And the runners, including Dion, had to carry everything they needed, all their food for many days, all their water, and even their shelter, like a small tent, on their own backs. This made every step even harder. They ran across the wild Gobi Desert, a place of extreme conditions. It was burning hot, almost scorching, during the day under the relentless sun, and then it became freezing cold, biting and bitter, at night when the sun disappeared. For Dion, this race wasn't just about trying to win a trophy or be the fastest. He wanted to see how far he could push himself, to discover his own limits and maybe even go beyond them. But Dion, the tough, experienced runner, had absolutely no idea that his life was about to change forever. This change wouldn't happen because he crossed a finish line or won a medal, but because of something completely unexpected that happened on the second day of the long, hard race. That's when it happened, on that fateful second day. He was running with focused concentration, carefully making his way over some rough, rocky ground where every footstep had to be placed with care. Suddenly, a tiny, scruffy-looking dog appeared as if from nowhere. She was small, with a slightly messy coat, and she looked like she didn't belong there at all, a little domestic creature in such a wild and unforgiving landscape. She ran right up to Dion without any hesitation and started following him, trotting along as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Dion was very surprised. He even laughed a little. a brief moment of lightness in the intense effort of the race. He thought to himself, surely she'll get tired very soon and go away, find somewhere else to be. But she didn't get tired. Or if she did, she didn't show it. She didn't go away, she stayed. And so, Dion decided to give her a name. He called her Gobi, after the big, sweeping desert they were both in. From that moment on, Dion and little Gobi became an unlikely team. The sun was blazing hot overhead, making the air shimmer. The desert wind blew constantly, whipping sand everywhere, stinging their eyes and getting into everything. The ground underfoot was rocky and uneven, making it hard and sometimes painful to run on. But Gobi, the little dog, ran right next to him, her tiny legs a blur. Sometimes she would dart ahead for a short distance, looking back as if she were leading the way, encouraging him. Sometimes she was a little behind, catching up, but she was always close, a constant, reassuring presence. Dion soon found himself listening for the soft, rhythmic sound of her little paws patting on the ground. It became a comforting sound in the vast silence of the desert. At night, when the desert air turned very cold and the stars shone brightly in the dark sky, Gobi would snuggle up close to Dion in his small, one-person tent. She would curl up beside him, sharing her warmth, and he knew she trusted him completely. There was truly something special about this little dog, something that touched Dion's heart. She was so incredibly strong, so resilient to keep going day after day in such a tough, demanding place. It was amazing for such a small creature. And she was so loyal to Dion, a man she had only just met a short time ago. The way she looked up at him with her bright, intelligent eyes seemed to say, clearly and without words, "I'm staying with you. We're in this together." Slowly, almost without him even really thinking about it or noticing it happening, Dion started to care deeply about her, a lot. This hard, challenging race, which had started as a personal quest, wasn't just about him anymore. It was about him and Gobi, together, facing the desert as a pair. But the Gobi March was still a race, a serious competition, and Dion, being a competitive athlete, still wanted to do well. He had trained for a very long time for this, putting in countless hours and making many sacrifices. He was a skilled runner, and as the days went on, he was getting closer and closer to the front runners, the elite athletes in the race. By the fifth day, he was in a very good position. He actually had a good chance of winning, or at least finishing very near the top. Then they came to a river. It wasn't a small, gentle stream that they could easily hop over. It was wide and the water was moving fast and looked deep and cold. Gobi, the little dog who had been so brave and fearless through everything else, the heat, the wind, the long miles, was suddenly scared, very scared. She stopped right at the edge of the rushing water and started to shake, her whole tiny body trembling. She let out little barks and plaintive whines, looking up at Dion with big, terrified eyes. It was clear she could not, would not, cross that river on her own. And that's when Dion Leonard, the focused ultramarathon runner who wanted to win, who was so close to achieving a great result, stopped. He just stopped running. The official race clock was still ticking, measuring every second. Other runners were probably passing him by, gaining precious minutes, but he stopped. He turned around and walked back to where little Gobi was standing, frozen by fear at the riverbank. He spoke to her softly, then gently, carefully, picked up her small, shaking body. He held her close against his chest and could feel her little heart beating incredibly fast against his hand, like a tiny drum. Then, without worrying about the race anymore, or the time he was losing, or his position among the other runners, he carried her across the wide, swirling river, holding her securely as if she was his own precious child. In that moment, standing in the middle of a cold river in the vast Gobi Desert, holding a little stray dog he had only known for a few days, everything changed completely for Dion. It wasn't about winning the race anymore. It wasn't about his personal goals. It was about something much, much bigger. It was about compassion. It was about love. Dion and Gobi finished the race together a few days later. They didn't win. In fact, they weren't even close to the top finishers by then. The time Dion had spent helping Gobi, especially at the river, had cost him many places. But they crossed the official finish line together, side by side, the man and his tiny, loyal companion. Dion didn't care about medals or rankings anymore. He had found Gobi, and in a way, Gobi had found him. He felt like he had gained something far more valuable than any race victory. But their amazing story wasn't over yet. In fact, a new part, a new adventure, was just beginning, and it might turn out to be even harder and more challenging than the race itself. Dion knew deep in his heart that he had to take Gobi home with him, all the way to the UK. He couldn't imagine leaving her behind. He wanted to give her a good, safe life, a life full of love, comfort, and happiness. She truly deserved it after surviving as a stray in the harsh, lonely desert. But taking a dog from China to another country like the UK is very, very hard. There were mountains of paperwork to fill out, complicated rules and regulations to follow. Gobi would have to stay in quarantine for a long time, a period of isolation to make sure she was healthy and didn't carry any diseases. There would be many visits to the vet for checkups and vaccinations. It would also cost a lot of money, more money than Dion had readily available, and it would take a lot of time and patience. So Dion made the difficult decision to fly back to his home in Scotland first, to get everything ready and raise the necessary funds for Gobi to join him. A kind person who had helped organize the race in China, who had seen the bond between Dion and Gobi, agreed to look after Gobi for a little while, keeping her safe until Dion could arrange her transport. Dion planned everything very carefully. He was so incredibly excited for Gobi to finally come home and be a part of his life permanently. Everything was finally falling into place. The money was raised thanks to many kind people who heard their story. The paperwork was nearly complete. Then Dion got a phone call. The voice of the person on the other end of the line sounded very sad, almost heartbroken. Dion, I am so sorry. I don't know how to tell you this. Your dog Gobi, she's gone missing. She had run off and disappeared in the huge Chinese city where she was being cared for. Hearing those words felt absolutely terrible for Dion. It was like a punch to the gut. His heart sank. He had originally gone to the Gobi Desert to run a race, to test his physical limits. Now he knew he had to go back to China immediately, but this time it was for something much more important, much more personal. This time he wasn't racing against other runners. He was racing against time, a desperate race to find his little friend, Gobi, before it was too late. Dion flew back to Urumqi, a very big, bustling city in China, home to millions of people. He started looking for Gobi everywhere, day and night. He put up pictures of Gobi on social media platforms, hoping someone might recognize her. He printed out flyers with her picture and his contact information, offering a reward for her safe return, and posted them all over the city. Many kind people in China who heard his story and were touched by his determination helped him look, searching their neighborhoods and spreading the word. His friends back home in Scotland and around the world helped too, sharing his posts online and offering support. Every single day, Dion walked the unfamiliar streets for hours and hours, calling Gobi's name, his voice filled with hope and anxiety. Every time he saw a small tan-colored dog in the distance, his heart would jump with a surge of hope, only to fall again when he realized it wasn't her. He was so worried, so afraid that he would never see her again. How could anyone possibly find one tiny lost dog in such a huge, sprawling city? The chances seemed impossibly small. Then, after many long, exhausting, and often discouraging days of searching, his phone rang again. His heart pounded. A voice on the other end said, a little hesitantly, I think we might have found your dog. We saw your posters. Dion could hardly breathe. He felt a rush of adrenaline and hope. He rushed to the place the caller described, a local park where a family had seen a small dog that looked very much like the photos of Gobi. And as he got closer, there she was. She was dirty, her fur matted, and she was a little thinner than he remembered, clearly having had a tough time on her own. But it was definitely, unmistakably, Gobi. Dion felt his knees go weak, and he fell to his knees on the grass, opening his arms wide. He called her name, his voice full of emotion, thick with unshed tears, and Gobi, his Gobi, heard him. Her ears perked up, and she turned. She recognized him instantly and ran right to him, as fast as her little legs could carry her. She jumped into his outstretched arms and started licking his face, her tail wagging furiously. Dion was so incredibly happy, so overcome with relief and joy, he cried. He hugged her tight. That moment when they found each other again, against all odds. Gobi never left his side after that amazing reunion. No more living a dangerous life in deserts. No more hard, grueling races for her little paws. Her life became full of all the good things a beloved dog deserves. Nice, leisurely walks in green parks, warm, sunny spots to sleep in by the window, lots and lots of belly rubs, her favorite, and always, always being with Dion, the man she chose so bravely in the middle of the vast desert. Every morning, even now, she still looks at Dion with the same bright, intelligent, loving eyes she had when she first found him in the desert, a look of pure devotion. She helped Dion learn to slow down, to appreciate the little things in life, to open his heart more, to care deeply about others, and ultimately, to choose love and companionship over solitary ambition. So what did you think was going to happen when little Gobi first started following that determined runner in the big empty Gobi Desert? We'd love to hear about it. Tell us your story in the comments below. If you like this heartwarming story, please give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might like it too. Don't forget to subscribe to Mesh for more stories like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.